Okay, you're good. Thank you, Krystal.
Thanks, Danny. All right. We're going to wait for some people to get in here as they all show up. You're welcome to tell me where you're coming from in chat. You want to open your chat and tell me where you're from and maybe even what you coach if you're coaching. Hopefully I'll be able to hit on all the Xcel levels and help you out with a few things. We get into some Xcel judging. Los Angeles, Alberta. All right. JO and Xcel. Awesome. Love it. Lots of bronze and silver levels. That's good. Those kids are so cute. I always love when we get our new bronze kids in the gym. It's so much fun. They're so adorable. Looking into offering Xcel. Good. Well, maybe I'll sway you one way or the other. Oh, I have a level 9 in here. All right. Well, I'm warning you. I'm a 4, 5, 7, 8, but I do a lot of Xcel judging. I should also probably make clear that I'm not on the behalf of Naj, or I'm just a judge that was willing to help out and do a webinar. So hopefully I can teach you something. I still don't know everything. I'm always learning. There's always something new I'm learning. I'm currently working on my level 9, so hopefully. I don't know where you're from, Melissa, but in Minnesota, it's actually, after you get your level 9, hard to judge 9s because most of the competitions are 9s and 10s. So, oh, looking to start an Xcel program. That's exciting. That's exciting. We're going to give them like another minute or so. I don't want to run out of time, and I know there's always lots of questions for judges. So I don't want to run us out of time. Yeah, once you pass your 10, you get the higher levels. I agree. I agree, which is probably a few years off for me yet. So just learning about Xcel. Okay. All right. If you have your Xcel coded points, it's helpful to always have out either on your iPad or on your book. I always have both. I always have my written and my iPad. Wisconsin. I've judged in Wisconsin a little bit, Tiffany. It's fun. I have some judge friends over there. It's a good time. All right. Well, we'll get started. If you have questions, you can absolutely type them into chat or type them into Q&A, and I will get to them. If they're event specific, I'll try to hit on them when I hit the event. If they're general, then I'll probably open it up and try to hit on them at the end. If I don't answer your question, feel free to type it in again. I'm going to try to multitask and talk and put up the presentation and answer your questions. So I should be able to do it all, but if for some reason I can't, just let me know. All right, so Xcel judging. There we go, a little bit about me. I was an MAGA, which is something we have in the Midwest here, and a high school gymnast, and I would have been the perfect Xcel kid. They didn't have Xcel when I was younger, but I would have been the perfect Xcel kid because I was not the cookie cutter gymnast. For example, for my high school beam, because I didn't want to do flight, I did handstand forward roll, and at that point it had a decently high difficulty value, and so I was kind of all the way around. I'm a coach and a gym director. I have my 4, 5 and my 7, 8 rating. I'm working on my 9. I did judge high school gymnastics for a little while here in Minnesota, and I have 5 monkeys of my own, 3 of which are gymnasts. And a lot of people laugh at me, but I quit my grown-up job. I was in hospitality to just coach and judge gymnastics because I love it, because it's a blast. So I quit my grown-up job to follow my passion, and this is where I sit today. I'm always trying to learn something new, and judging was something I took on to learn more about gymnastics and help kids and coaches alike, especially with the Xcel program. So I love Xcel. We only offer Xcel and then optional JO at my gym. So I really love the Xcel program. I think it's great. All right. So Xcel basics. Oops, sorry. I must have some noise on. Xcel basics we're going to get into. Value parts. This is the same in JO as it is Xcel. Each skill in your routine has a value. In your lower divisions, bronze and silver, and even gold, use those additional A value parts to help you. They're in your code of points, electronic or paper. Use those up. They're awesome, especially when, you know, our Xcel kids don't always fit the cookie cutter mold of this. So use those additional A. Each division has special requirements. We're not going to go into depth on bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond requirements in each or on each event, simply because this is supposed to be about an hour. And we would spend the entire hour doing that. So I am going to touch on some things that often confuse coaches, lots of the questions I get as a judge or as a coach on the floor, because I also coach on the floor. So I get a lot of questions from coaches. And then let's see, required technique. This one's important no matter what level or division you coach. Make sure you're looking at the required technique in your code of points. It's particularly important on bars and beam. It tells you exactly how judges are supposed to look at casts and split angles and things like that. So make sure you're looking at required technique, and then code updates. And that's what this little picture is over here. There's a section, if you have a electronic code, so if you downloaded it on iBooks, there's a section in there called additions, corrections, and changes. Is the most helpful part, I think, of the electronic code, because it does tell you the date, and then it also goes through and tells you what changes were made. I know this last year I got a lot of questions from coaches like, why are vault scores so much lower? Why are vault scores so much lower? Well, they added an angle of repulsion deduction to Xcel Vault this year, gold to diamond, and that it's up to 5/10. So that made a really big difference in vault scores, and essentially lowered the norm of vault scores. So really checking your additions, changes, and corrections. Either there, you can also go to the NAWJ website, NAWGJ, and they post them there. You can also go to USA Gymnastics, and they post the printout pages so that you can make sure you have all those corrections. But make sure your code is up to date, whether it's paper or electronic, because I think that's where a lot of confusion kind of comes in. So Xcel has 5, because I know we have some people that are just looking into Xcel. It has 5 divisions: bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond. Your diamond kids are probably roughly a JO 7, 8, somewhere in there. Depending, they could be a 9 too, just depending on kind of the part of the country you're in. All right, so here's what we're gonna cover. What I wish a judge told me as a coach, because to sit and read every word of the code doesn't necessarily help you until you're actually coaching it. So there are a few things that are confusing in Xcel, and a few things that kind of a lot of coaches need clarification on and can help some things. So we're gonna go over some of those things. So let's see. Oops, sorry. All right, your goals for your program matter. Whatever your goals for your program is. And I learned this when I wasn't a judge yet. But then going into gyms and helping other gyms, I want to know what their goals of their program are, because it makes a difference on my feedback. So make sure whatever the goals of your program are, you have judges in, tell them what your goals are. Maybe it's to develop progress over score. Maybe it's to win, and we want to keep it very simple routines with very basic skills. Maybe it's to move on, where, you know, at least in Minnesota, some of our Xcel kids are going to our high school programs, and the high school program looks just a little bit different. So maybe their last year of Xcel, they're looking to develop high school level routines and not so much worried about their score, or it's some combination. So make sure you know where your gym's coming from, and tell the judge, we're people too, and we can help, but I don't want to suggest something coming into your gym not knowing what your goals are. So make sure you know the goals of your program. All right, we're going to move on right into each event. So if you have questions, again, ask them. We're going to cover the basics in judging on each event and where a majority of deductions come from. So first thing on vault, I say the dreaded vault because I feel like this is the one event where it's really hard for a gymnast to be consistent. Like, there's just so many pieces. So there are multiple deductions that can be taken in each of the phases. So when we judge vault, we're looking at first flight, support repulsion, second flight, and their landing. We're going to talk about silver vault. Christy, I will get to that question. It's a great one. So anything, toes, legs bent, feet or legs separated, body position, head alignment, those are things that we get to take in each of those. Now, they're usually only up to a 10th, or maybe up to 2. Bent knees is up to 3. But if we can take it 3 different times, that can add up really quickly. So if you have a gymnast that bends their knees at 90 degrees in a front handspring vault, they're going to get hit with 9/10, essentially, just in their bent knees. And if they have bent knees, there's going to be other body position errors and all sorts of other things too. The biggest deductions in count, or how large they are, too long in support is up to 0.5. We just talked about the angle of repulsion deduction that is now up to 0.5. So you're talking about some pretty big deductions if they're not quick off that table, if they don't have those tight bodies, if their toes aren't pointed. Height is another one, how high they're getting off the table after repulsion. And then distance, and people always question me about distance. Yes, your judges look at the size of the gymnast. Obviously, a gymnast that is, you know, tiny is not going to get as far away from the vault table as the taller gymnast or the larger gymnast. So bronze vault has 2 options. Our bronze vaulters can stretch jump and handstand flat back, each worth, so the stretch jump is 4.5 and the handstand flat back is worth 4.5, and it's a 9.0 start value. Or they can do a handspring flat back off the board, jump to handspring onto the mat stack and flat back, and that is a 10.0 start. We don't get to look at repulsion in those ones, but our bronze kiddos, and we don't get to judge the run like you do in JO. So that's the other piece of bronze, that you don't get to judge the run like you do in JO. Silver, because I'm getting questions about silver. The silver vault is new. So keep that in mind. For those of you that don't know, they take a large resi and turn it sideways. And you can either do a front handspring or a half on. Judging wise, most kids will more than likely score better on a half on, in my opinion. From a coach's perspective, honestly, it really depends on the kids. We teach all of our kids front handsprings, and then we move to quarter ons or half ons. You can also do a quarter on, which is pretty much a round off, essentially, over the mat stack. So It can be a quarter to a half. If they can keep their legs together, if they can keep their arms by their ears, if they can show flight before their hands hit the mat stack, then the quarter on or half on typically, in my experience, has scored better. Because it's really hard to repulse in a front handspring vault after when you're on a resi. Shows the guidelines. I'd love to have a template. Oh, yes, I can share the template for you. Maybe I'll write that down and have Annie email it out to all of you guys. My judges template for, somebody's asking for the judges template here that I use to score. And yes, I can. I will figure out how to share that. I'm going to write myself a note here quick. But I will figure out how to share that judges template. I love it. It keeps all my deductions in one, so I can do that. And I also have one for bronze and silver vault. So I will send those to you. Your NAJ websites too, NAWGJ, every state or most states have one, and then there's a national one as well. A lot of those websites have Xcel score sheets, all that look just a little bit different to kind of please whatever piece of it you want. So, and then gold, platinum, and diamond vault runs everywhere from a front handspring all the way through a Yurchenko or a Suk. Those same idea exists, 3 or 4 different phases in vault that we can take deductions out of. So know that, if there's something wrong in your first flight, it's probably going to cause issues in support repulsion, second flight, and landing. I hear coaches tell people all the time, and I fully agree, start with your run. Start with your run. Move to your board punch. Once your board punch is good, then move to getting onto the table. Once your first flight is good, worry about support and repulsion. But if you're worried about them sticking the landing and they can't hit the board correctly, you're going to have all sorts of issues in there anyways. So that's my advice. All right, important notes on vaults. We touched on just a little bit already. New in October of 2019 was angle of repulsion. You'll see, and all the vaults are illustrated in your code of points. This happens to be the handspring vault illustrated. You'll see her hands are off the table right at vertical. There's no deduction I can take if she's off at vertical. Okay, but it adds up really fast if she takes longer to get off, because not only am I then taking angle of repulsion, but I'm also going to take too long in support, which was also an up to 0.5. So you can rack up, and then probably a height, because they're not going to be able to get off, might have problems of bent arms or bent legs and things like that. The angle of repulsion deduction is gold through diamond. We do not take angle of repulsion for bronze and silver because they don't use the table. So we cannot take angle of repulsion in bronze and silver, just gold, platinum, and diamond. And then another larger change in October 2019 was a handspring front vault was voided or removed from Xcel. So Xcel Diamond it was an allowable vault for Diamond prior to, and they can no longer do a hand front vault. So that is now a void vault. If you're looking at training girls to do that vault, they're going to have to go to optionals to be able to do it. You cannot do it in Xcel any longer. It's now void. So those are the big ones. Any other questions on vault? The silver vault it's a tough one. It's a tough one because it's new. So it's a tough one for judges, and it's a tough one for coaches in trying to figure out what exactly works better. And it really is per gymnast. You really have to be able to look at your gymnasts and decide. And hopefully having, a judge's template in front of you would help. Board and mini tramp for bronze and silver are both okay. They're also, the mini tramp is also allowable at gold, but there's a deduction, a start value deduction of 0.5. So you can use it at gold. I prefer to train with the board. And then if I absolutely have to, I will allow my athletes to use the mini tramp during competition if they need to. But we try to train with the board. My favorite way to teach a punch. Well, now you're getting into my coaching abilities, but honestly, I start with punch back to Mad Cat, and then anything that gets their body backwards, their shoulders have to be set back on the board, arms down, toes in front. Okay, because then they're going to lift and propel themselves forward. So anything like that is probably my favorite. My email address is at the end of this wonderful slideshow, and I'd be happy to help anybody that wants to email me and ask me what I use, because like I said, I'm all up for just helping. I enjoy it. I love coaching, love judging. It's all fun. All right, on to bars, and bars gets really fun because we get to deal with casts. All right, so we talked about value parts in the beginning a little bit. Bars is the first event where you actually have to count value parts if you're going to vault, bars, beam, floor, and you have to count value parts for all the levels. And bars is the only one that the value parts are also part of special requirements for these divisions. So every division has 4 special requirements. One of the special requirements for bronze bars is that they have 4 A value parts. Remember, value parts are just skills. Okay, it's just a skill, but they have to have 4. If they don't have 4, then that takes away that special requirement. It does other things in the higher levels, but I'll get to that in a second. Same thing with silver. They have to have 5 value parts. It's one of their special requirements. And they have to be A level skills. They can't, bronze and silver, B's are restricted. So gold, there's 6 A's and or B value parts. So once you get into gold, you can do B level skills on bars, but you have to be able to count 6. So for these divisions, the number of value parts is also a special requirement. So for example, if a gold gymnast gets up and only does 5 skills on the bar, okay, they're gonna lose 0.5 because they're not getting the special requirement of having 6 value parts. All right, so in order, and we're gonna talk about casts in the next slide, but there are that required technique portion of your code of points where I said it's gonna help you immensely. Yes, on bars, it will help you immensely. Your kids need to hit their casts or we don't count it as a value part. And when we don't count it as a value part, you might not have enough in your routine. And then it's a 0.5 deduction for the special requirement. In my gym, if it's iffy, if kids are, on the fence and they don't always hit that horizontal cast requirement for gold, or then what we typically do is put in 7 skills so that if they miss the cast, they still get their 6 for their special requirement. Platinum and diamond are a little different. So for platinum and diamond bars, sorry, I have to flip my page here. For platinum and diamond bars, they have to have 6A and 1B. Okay, now for them, their value parts are worth tenths. So A value parts are worth 1/10, B value parts are worth 3/10. So if your platinum gymnast does 7 skills in their routine, but one of them is not a B skill, they start at a 9/7 start value. Does that make sense? Same thing with your diamond kids. If they can do 7 skills, but unless 2 of them are B's, they will have a start value deduction. So keep that in mind. Start counting things. In bronze and silver, counting casts gets a little goofy with some of the skills that they do. So we're gonna go on to this. All right, so counting bar casts. First of all, you can only count them twice. So you've got this great kid that does fantastic casts, and maybe they're platinum where they have to be above horizontal, has to be clearly above horizontal. They can do 2 casts above horizontal that count for 2 A's in their routine, okay? Your bronze kid can do 2 casts where their hips leave the bar, and it'll be counted as 2 of their skills in their routine, but they have to be able to do both casts. Where we come across some confusion is cast, squat on, jump to the high bar. It's only 1 element. It's not 3, it's not 2, you don't get to count it all. It's 1 element. So it's 1 A skill. Cast, squat on is 1 A skill. A cast, shoot through, or leg cut, 1 A skill. It's not a cast and a shoot through, it's 1 A skill. And then an additional A for our bronze level kids, it's an additional dismount, is the cast and push back to a stand position. Again, not 2 skills, 1 skill, that's it. So then anything else besides those 3, anything else, you get the cast and the skill credit. So if you do cast, clear hip, 2 skills. Cast, back hip circle, 2 skills. Cast, feet on, soul circle, dismount, 2 skills, okay? So knowing how to count those skills becomes crucially important, especially in bars, in the lower divisions and the higher divisions. Any cast that does not hit the required angle, which is gonna be in your required technique portion. So bronze, their hips have to come off the bar, and we're looking over here. Silver is 45. This is the silver cast. And notice how they have the line drawn from shoulder to hip to toes. That's because it has to be in line. If their belly drops, then that line is lower and it doesn't hit. Okay, we're gonna take it from the lowest body part. When we look at casts, we're looking at the lowest body part. So if a kiddo is looking for a cast handstand and their legs are straight, but their belly comes all the way out here, we're gonna go from wrist to where their belly is, and we're gonna say that's within 20 degrees. We might give them the B, but you know, they might have a short of handstand deduction there. So you do need to pay attention to where your where the lowest body part is. It's always their lowest body part. That's where we're going, from shoulders or wrists to their lowest body part. If they don't hit their angle, it's not a value part. You can't get credit for it. So for example, for bronze, if you have easiest bronze bar routine, jump up, cast, back hip circle, cast off to land. Okay, those 4 skills. Bronze have to have 4 skills. If your kiddo, that meets all the requirements if they get their hips off the bar in their cast. If they don't get their hips off the bar in the cast, that cast doesn't count. And we're now gonna start at a 9.5 start value because we only have 3 skills because that cast does not count, okay? Third cast in a routine doesn't count as value part. You probably only see that in the platinum and diamond divisions, but you can only count casts 2 times and they have to hit the required angle to be counted. Okay, they have to hit that required angle to be counted. Now, last year there was a change in the rules where it's a skill finishing and clear support for that special requirement. It says it doesn't have to be a cast. It says a skill finishing in clear support for gold, platinum, and diamond. That means that maybe you have a platinum that doesn't cast very big, but they come out of a clear hip at 45. Okay, that will satisfy that special requirement for platinum because they're coming out of a skill in clear support above horizontal. Okay. All right. Questions on bars. Questions on bars. Questions on bars. All right. I think cast is where it gets the trickiest on bars. Oh, we do have a question coming through. Let's see. If gold, okay, so the question is, what happens if a gold does 3 casts and does not make one of them? Okay, so they're going to get a value part for 2 of them that hit horizontal. They will get their special requirement, okay? They have to have 6 skills, so I would then hope that they had 4 other skills in their routine, 4 other A or B skills in their routine. And then they would be okay. Now, if they're doing cast, 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 and then a back hip circle to try to hit all their casts, those rhythm deductions on bars exist, so you might incur a rhythm deduction, especially in platinum and diamond. Are the first 2 counted or just the best 2? So I get what you're asking. Okay. Are the first 2 counted or just the best 2 for casts? So pull over, cast, hits horizontal for gold, back hip circle, okay? And then does a squat on and goes to the high bar and maybe goes cast once, cast twice, back hip circle, flyaway. They're gonna count the first one because it hit the requirement. The second one didn't hit the requirement, so they're not gonna count it. And the third one, they would count because it hit the requirement. So they're only gonna count the ones that hit the requirement, if that makes sense. All right, can you clarify how high the mats can be under the bar for bronze and silver and what they're allowed to mount off of? Yes, but I will tell you that I often have to look this one up because it is actually in, so the one resource that I haven't talked to you about yet is the women's R&P, Women's Rules and Policies for Gymnastics. Super important. I'm gonna look it up while we keep talking, and then I'll
Hey,
get
Krystal?
back to you. Yep.
Sorry, I actually know the answer to this one.
Oh, perfect. I always have to look up mat clarifications.
No worries. I had to look it up this last season because I had a little shrimpy, tiny bronze kid that couldn't do a pullover. And so we were trying to figure out what to do. You can stack mats as high as you would like under the bars for a mount. Once the mount is done, you can only have 1 8-incher or 1 4-incher. So you have to pull the whole stack out of the way, like you would a regular mounting block. But once the mount is over, you have to move that stack.
Perfect. There you go. And the 8 and 4-incher that she's talking about are in excess of the base mats that are
Correct.
Underneath the bars completely.
And it is an R&P. You can just look at it. You have to look it up, but it's in the Code of Points.
Oh, it is in the Code of Points. I always look at R&P for matting regulations.
Yeah,
I don't know,
think
maybe
it's
they're
in the
just
Code of
easier to
Points
find
is
for me.
where I found it. But I had to read it a couple times to make sure.
Awesome. Rhythm deductions. So we have another question. How are rhythm deductions determined, in my opinion, in anything typical? So your rhythm deductions really come into play in platinum and diamond, and they're 3/10. So do yourself a favor if you can and help your bronze, silver, and gold gymnasts not have, like in my gym, I just call them a stop deduction. That's what I call it, because the girls don't necessarily, like, I don't know. That's what I call it. So here's the way that it works. If your platinum gymnast does kip, front support, cast, okay? Or their cast swings, so they come out of their kip, let's see, they come out of their kip this way and their legs swing back, but they don't cast, and then they swing them forward and then they cast, okay? That's a stop deduction. It's 3/10. Okay. You also see it, platinum can have one tap swing, diamond cannot have any additional tap swings. So anything beyond one additional tap swing for platinum is going to be a stop deduction of 0.3. So if that, that's where we see a big rhythm deduction is in your stops. So if you can get, and there's going to be a video at the end of my presentation here of kind of a very goofy silver bar routine, and I'll tell you the reason we had to do it, because it was just that kid, and I absolutely love that kid, but we had to come up with something. So this is what we came up with, and it actually did not, it flowed, it worked. So we will go over that. Is there a deduction for a third cast that doesn't hit the requirement? If it's in platinum or diamond, then it would be that stop deduction we just talked about. They don't get those in gold or silver or bronze. However, train your kids early because then you don't have to worry about it. I made that mistake. That's why I talk about it. I made that mistake when I first started coaching Xcel, and then I got kids to platinum, and I was like, oh my gosh, you just got 9/10 deducted in stop deductions because they didn't cast right out of their kip into the biggest, their biggest casts. So help your kids out. Do it from the beginning. All right, moving on to beam. Beam value parts. Every mount is an A skill. Every mount is an A skill. Except if it uses the metal trusses. Like your little bronze kid cannot step up on the metal and then go up there. They have to use a mounting block. They can't step on the legs of the beam. But every mount is an A. It really doesn't have to be in the book. It can be something your kids made up. Particularly my gold and platinum teenagers, they love this because they like to come up with all sorts of things. I had a platinum kid last year that really insisted for one of the meets that she do her cool mount in which she ran up to the board and jumped and landed on her bottom on the beam. That's what she wanted to do. Every mount's an A, so we let her do it and have a little bit of fun with it. It's one of the best parts about Xcel is it gets to be fun. Platinum and diamond are only platinum and diamond have value part requirements on beam. Again, it's the 6A, the 1B. If they don't hit them, then, or 6A and 2B, depending on what division. If they don't hit them, then they'll get a start value deduction. The same element performed a second time must be in a different connection. We see this in gold a lot. Back walkover, stop, back walkover. I can't give it 2 A's. Judges can't give it 2 A's according to the rules because there's not a different beginning or a different ending to it. So, however, you could do handstand, and then later in your routine, you could do handstand, back walkover. Both those handstands get credit because the exit of the handstand, of the second handstand, is into a back walkover. So think entrance or exit has to be different. It does clarify it in the code for you. If you go look up, it's under, I just had this up today too. Recognition of value parts, super important piece. Recognition of value parts is where you'll want to see that. So, and then if it's performed, same element performed a third time, no credit. We do see that in platinum and diamond every once in a while, where the kid will go back walkover, stop, back walkover, and they need a connection. So they get up and they try to do it again, back walkover, but now I've got 4 and I can't, I counted the first one. I can't count the second one because it's the same as the first one. Can't count the third, or can count the third one, but then can't count the fourth one. So it gets a little rocky. But make sure you have those, you know, if your kids are doing the same skill multiple times. Press to handstand mount as a platinum is a B skill. It is a B skill. Sorry, I forgot to, unless it's higher value part already. So every mount is an A unless it's listed in the code as a B, C, D as a higher skill. Sorry, I didn't finish my sentence there. So yes, press to handstands listed in the code as a B, so it is a B mount. It is a B mount. There's no degrading the skill down to an A. It's just every mount, regardless of whether it's in the code for Xcel, is an A skill. Because kids and coaches are coming up with cool mounts. So that's what they're doing. Couple confusing rules for beam. If the judge does not award value part credit to a skill, it cannot be used to fulfill the special requirement. So my example is the Platinum Dance Series. Platinum needs 120-degree split. This Platinum child did a split jump that's 90 degrees. There's no value part connected to a tuck half. There's no value part for the split jump because it doesn't hit within 20 degrees of the requirement. So we don't award the value part. We do award value part of the tuck half, but because they need a series and the first one doesn't have a value part, that can't be used for a series. That can't be used for a series. Yes, there would be deductions for missing the value part and the special requirement. So unless she had, and it's actually would be 2 special requirements unless they had it somewhere else in their routine, but they require 120 and then a series. So I believe, and I haven't judged in so long, you guys think, I mean, I'm studying for my 9, but that's about it. So for the beam kids, for platinum's a requirement, says that they have to have a dance series and 1 jumper leap. So it's actually only 1 requirement, special requirement. So as long as they had enough A's and B's besides the value part for the split jump, then they wouldn't receive a deduction for not having enough value parts, but they would receive the deduction for the special requirement. So, there's another question here. Uh-oh, I'm cutting out. All right. A note on split requirements. Think about them just like casts, like we talked about. If you don't hit the required angle, now it is with casts, it is the exact angle they want you to hit. With split requirements for beam and floor, it's within 20 degrees. So the platinum split requirement is 120. If your child does athlete does a 100-degree split, then we count it and we take up to 0.2 for lack of split. So think of them that way. Think of them that way. Any questions on beam? Any questions on beam? Again, I'm touching on a few things because, because we're already at 45 minutes. It goes so fast when we're talking about all the events. So it goes so fast. If you didn't hear me, I believe that we are recording this, so you should be able to rewatch it on record. All right. So let's see. What do I got next? Floor. Floor is so much fun. Floor kids are so cute. I love watching floor. Does a swing through series, sorry. Let's go back to beam for just a second because this is a very good, this is a very good one. Do swing throw series count in Xcel? Yes, but, and we're gonna go over it on floor, and I'll add in a piece for beam. On beam, to break a series, there are 7 ways to break a series on beam. And one of them is anything outside the alignment of the beam. So swing through series can count, and I've seen some good ones. A majority of them that I see though, is they tend to swing that leg outside the line of the beam. When they come and swing through, sometimes their leg comes out to the side. That would be a broken series. They have to stay in line with the beam. So if you think about them doing cartwheel, cartwheel, their leg has to swing down right next to that other leg, land on the beam, and go cartwheel. So yes, swing through series do count in Xcel, but be careful that that swing through leg doesn't come around the side because they could drop the connection and not give you that connection. All right, moving on to floor. Only platinum and diamond, again, have value part requirements on floor. 6A, 1B for platinum and 6A, 2B for diamond. The third time a skill is performed, there's no value part. And connections. Connections can be tricky. I told you we're going to go over those on the next page. And I think the biggest thing that I see on floor is, even though it's technically a flight skill, the way your athlete does it, there might not be flight. And know that judges are watching for that. I have seen some silvers that, you know, have to do a single round off or a single flight instead of another connection as part of their special requirements. And they've done a round off, and that round off doesn't have flight. Or front handspring step out that looks like a front walkover. In order to have flight, there has to be a moment in time when there's not anything touching the ground. So make sure when you're working with flight on floor that your athletes are showing actual flight, that they are showing flight. So, all right. Series are considered broken on floor and not eligible to fulfill value part or special requirements if any of the following occur. A stop between elements. So we used to have this cute little bronzy that would do forward roll, stop, look at my coach, do a cartwheel. Okay, forward roll, step out, stop, look at my coach, do a cartwheel. Or look for my mom in the stands because they're 5 and they just can't keep their attention on their floor routine because they're adorable. That's a stop. We don't have to count that as a connection. Loss of balance, that causes a pause between elements. So they come up out of their forward roll on one foot and they're a little wobbly before they put down that second foot. Again, broken series. Repositioning of your support leg. Have you ever seen a gymnast do like a front handspring step out? Or I see it in handstand forward roll, step out cartwheel, where they'll set their foot down and then they'll pick it up and they'll set it down again. Okay, that's repositioning or an extra step. So any of that tapping of the foot breaks the connection. Or performs greater than a 45-degree kick between elements. So if they, if their leg goes up above 45 degrees. Then we tend to see those things. All right, we have 2 questions on floor that I'm going to answer quick. Question 1, what leap series tends to score the highest for bronze and silver? Okay, so first, biggest of advice on a bronze leap, position them when they get to the meet, position them so that their leap goes this way and not this way to the judge. Because if the child is running away from me in their floor routine to do their leap, it's really hard to see if that was like a straight leg run or if we just actually leaped. Unless your bronze kids have amplitude and toe point. I mean, sometimes, but usually new bronze kids struggle to show an actual, like a leap. And so, know where they're positioned. The best leap series I typically see is split leap, like step, leg swing, hop. We see that one a lot. I see some tuck jumps. I think you can usually, tuck jumps and split leaps are usually your best bet. Remember that they can have steps in between their leaps. So I do see some coaches in gyms, and it might be their philosophy, and there's nothing wrong with this in the way that they do it. They go split leap, and then the kid has to stop right there and do a tuck jump. They can continue and go split leap, sachet, tuck jump. They can continue those things. So please know that piece of it. The leg swing does have to hit 90 degrees. Yep. If they're in the leg swing hop. We happen to do those in our warm-ups. So it helps. You can also do a straight jump half turn. It has to have the half turn in there. I did see more of those this year than I think I've ever seen, was a straight jump half turn. Don't just do the straight jump though. If they just do the straight jump, it doesn't count. A straight jump is not a skill on floor. It's not a skill. They have to put the half turn in there. And then our second question for floor was, can a cartwheel be a tumbling pass, or is this repositioning of the foot? So if they're pivoting, it is. If they swing through, it might work on floor. I've never seen it done. It would be very challenging, I feel like, at the level. I mean, you're only talking about bronze and silver kids on floor that are doing a non-flight pass. And I think gold has the option for their second one. No, everybody else has to have flight. So you're talking about bronze and silver. They cannot pivot in between it. I guess I haven't really seen it because I don't know exactly how you would do it. There is a listing in the code of points of things that are not able to be connected. And I know, like, you can't go back, walk over, swing through, cartwheel, or round off. Those are not they can't be connected. So there are some things, some copies that cannot cartwheel. So side cartwheel, you could possibly work. I haven't seen it, but it could work if they don't reposition their feet, and they come right down and go in. If your leg swing doesn't hit 90 degrees, my guess is they take 0.2 in an amplitude deduction. That's what I would take, if their leg swing's not there yet. Cartwheel round off has a connection. Alicia, do they swing through for a cartwheel round off connection, or is it a side cartwheel to a round off? Because if they shift or move their feet from a lunge. Side cartwheel into a round off. Side cartwheel into a round off. From the lunge, I don't think I would connect it. I would have to see it. I'm a very visual judge, but I don't think I would connect to that. So, let me, hold on, I gotta get to my other ones here. The only exception to the rules above, really quick, are round off, rebound, backward roll for bronze and silver, because that rebound, they do give that rebound in there. So All right, moving on. Let's see what's next. Creating routines. This is all in my opinion. So I don't know. This is in my opinion. Don't hide skills. And I wasn't purposely hiding the skill, to be clear, and I don't think any coach actually does. But when you're creating floor routines, really think about it. If you put a step half turn or a step full turn in, particularly the step half turn, in a corner right before a tumbling pass, it might just look like your gymnast is turning around, unless it's clearly a set prep half turn. We know how the little kids get sometimes, and they don't always look like that. We do our best as judges, especially in the lower divisions, to decipher what some of this can be classified as, if they're not great or if they're nervous out there on the floor or whatever the case may be. So it says fouette into a leap. We had a platinum this year do a fouette into her leap, and it was missed by the judge almost every single time. So we took it out. We took it out by the end of the season. It was very pretty though, but we took it out because it was not counted as a connection, and I always had to bring it up. And I don't mind inquiring, but inquiring on the same thing 57 times isn't ideal for me as a coach. Keep it simple. Again, go back to what your goals of your gym are, but relatively, if you have a bronze kid that does 15 skills in their floor routine, they're going to score significantly lower than the kids that have 5 or 8. So keep it on there. I love, as a judge, seeing creativity. So get out your creative juices. Find things that are different. Just have your code of points ready and be ready to inquire and show the judge that it's there. And don't be afraid to inquire. I learn a lot from inquiries, and we do miss things sometimes, especially at least in Minnesota. A lot of our Xcel meets this year, we're down to single panel judges. And when you're judging single panel, inevitably you're going to miss something. So don't be afraid. I never get mad at a coach, not at all. And if you use an uncommon skill, make sure you have your book. So I'm going to play this video. This is my daughter. Now, she was trying something out for us that we were going to try with a silver gymnast, because her glide swing wasn't really great. She didn't always hit her cast. We had to come up with a very creative bar routine for the silver gymnast. And so I had my daughter, she's a diamond. I had her try it out for me. But this was one of our silvers routines this year. Uh-oh, why did it go away? Oh, there we go. Okay, play. There we go. So she meets cast requirements. So we did leg swing or leg cut, and then another leg cut to a turn, and then her dismount. Because we had to meet the requirements, and her glide swing wasn't there, and we had to have X amount of skills. So, and her leg cut, that was part of it too, is she couldn't leg cut back as well. The silver gymnast couldn't. So get creative, pull that stuff up, try to use your book. All right, there's a question in here about from Back at Bars. She wants to know, what are the common deductions we take for a seat circle dismount? And I actually did have silvers do that. I tried to find a video to actually put it in here, but I could not find a video of my gymnast doing this dismount. But we did have 2 silver girls that did this dismount this year as a gym. And I had to have my book out because we did have to show them that it was an additional A because it was added this year. So essentially the kind of like the video you just saw, except she's in a straddle on the top of the bar and she's gonna go backwards and then release the bar and land on her feet, is this seat circle dismount. So I did have to judge it this year. There was one other gym that had a child do it. I did have to judge it this year. And I took bent knees, toe point, any bent arms. I also took, or would have taken, this girl actually did a really good job on it, so I didn't really have to take much, but we have talked about it as judges, and I would have taken an amplitude. I don't know if you'd call it amplitude exactly, but rhythm and no, not rhythm, because silver can't take rhythm. I would take amplitude on the scale. The catch is these additional A skills, they don't really give us specific deductions for them as judges. And so we do have to use our best judgment. And as judges, at least me personally, I try to, just make sure I have the girls in the right order. First place, second place, third place, 21st place, no matter what their score is. Some of them, could be, the high score could be 9-6 that day. Other days, the high score could be 8-5. So all right, so let's see if there's any. So creating routines. Oh, yep, what to do with that kid. I pretty much talked about these. Find the skills that work. Mounts. Find mounts that fulfill special requirements. The jump to handstand bar mount. I had some of my platinums try it, because I wanted them to get their B skill, and their clear hips weren't going high enough. And, so use mounts that fulfill requirements. Dismounts are great. B value parts. Those are fantastic. I saw a lot of flyaway halves in platinum, and then they do back hip circles because their clear hip, they get a lot of deductions on. Clear hips have lots of deductions. So the story of the twins, I pretty much just told you. Those were the girls that did the seat circle dismount, and I had to really get out of the box with them. But bring your code with you and inquire. No judges shouldn't be upset if you inquire. I'm not going to say no judge will be, because I'm not every judge. But I take it as an opportunity to learn and to figure things out, and strange things do happen. And ultimately, we're people that just want to help. We just want to help. We just want to figure it out together. So, and we do talk as judges after meets and at seminars about odd situations and different things that we've had go on. So, you never know about that. There you go. Inquiries. Fill out an inquiry. If your gymnast didn't start at a 10 and you don't know why, fill out an inquiry. They can tell you that. Now, you can't just fill out an inquiry that says, what are all the deductions you took? Okay, have a judge into your gym to do that. But you can fill out inquiries if your start value is not a 10 and you want to know why, or if their score is, significantly lower, and you really, usually if it's a start value issue, again, you can't just inquire and be like, well, what did you take? They don't have to tell you that, but you can inquire for start value. All of those things. If your athlete does something uncommon or out of the ordinary that wasn't caught, the fouette leap or fouette sachet leap that one of my athletes did, I just had to put in there, this was her series. And, judges will look at it and be like, oh, you know what? I did see that. I didn't think it was part of it, or, or if your whole team seems to start with lower start values than expected. I was judging beam. This was like 2 years ago. And I had a whole entire team that started at a 9.5 because they didn't get their turn credit, because all of them dropped their heels well before a full turn. And so they all started at 9.5s, and I felt so bad. I was like, oh, this is such a bummer. Like, it's your heel. They're dropping their heel. You need to watch their heel drop. So, it might be just a training issue. It might be a learning experience for you as a coach. Don't be afraid to figure out what that is. And then lastly, this is the Gmail that I use for judging. So if you have questions, I'm happy to answer. I don't really give you a timeline, but I'm happy to answer. Is there an Xcel? We have another question. Is there an Xcel specific judging test coming out? And are there resources where you can watch routines and review deductions that should be taken? So I don't know if there's an Xcel specific judging test coming out. I know that it's been talked about for quite a while, but I do not know if there's one coming out. I know that you can find Xcel practice tests online, and a lot of the National Association of Women's Gymnastics judges, sorry, my children are noisy in the background, will, a lot of their websites have judging resources specific to Xcel. You can also purchase on those NAJ websites, DVDs. That's how I learned most of what I learned, is by purchasing the judging DVDs, because it does show you the routine, show you deductions, show you what they scored, so you can go through and see, this is what I scored. Or have a gym or have a judge into your gym. There's all sorts of different ways, but I wish they had an Xcel test coming out right now, at least in Minnesota, and I believe across the US, they want you to have at least a 7-8 rating to judge platinum and diamond, and then a 4 or 5. But coaches can actually judge Xcel as well, as long as you're a USAG professional membership. I've never seen it done in Minnesota, but it can be done. So, if you need anything else, or if you have any other questions, go ahead. I do have a live class to coach for my gymnasts, because I'm doing virtual lessons for my gymnasts here at 5:30, but I will take a couple more questions if anybody has them or wants to chat. Otherwise, thank you guys for listening, and hopefully it was helpful.
Thank you, Krystal.
You're welcome.
Thank you. This was fantastic.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and sign off, because it looks like we've got mostly thank yous coming in now. So
perfect.
Thank you, Krystal.
Yep. Have a good one, guys. Thanks for listening.
Thanks. Bye.